In our last episode, we talked about higher realms in this series. Hope you like this episode. Heads or tails?
You might actually see the word yes or see the word no. If that doesn't work, then what you do, you take two pieces of paper, one on, you put yes, and the other you put no. You mix it up, and I know this sounds like it is a choice or a chance, but it isn't, because you're saying that I want to know which one I should definitively be involved. These are the three choices that I want to be in: engineering, architecture, whatever. There might be a few choices. And you'll say, okay, is it going to be architecture? And you put your hand in, and it says, what I'm going to be taking out is my message from the higher realms. And this is very important. When people are getting messages, sometimes they're not tying in the level or the height the messages are coming from. But let me explain. If you say on Facebook that I want to get into architecture, let's say, you're going to get all kinds of people saying, oh, you need to be in architecture, you need to be this. Well, would you respect that person's decision? If you don't know them, so somebody mentioned it, and you're still no further ahead. What you'd want to do is a person that you highly respect. If you have a neighbor that's just very smart and has known you for years, and you know that they won't judge you, and you ask them that question, you might get a different answer. You say, well, you are really good at numbers, but you're also good at this, but I think you would be good at architecture, but how does it feel? In other words, they won't tell you what to do. They'll give their summary, a little bit about where you've been, but eventually still bring it back to you somehow. You would respect that person's input. When you're saying this in spirit, the way you're trying to introduce it is that the question I'm going to be asking you, I want it to come from the highest light, 100% pure white light. But you're asking the higher realms to step in, because light will always overrule darkness. Always. When you ask them to come in that purpose, they'll be right beside you. And then you ask your question. Is it architecture or is it engineering? And then you'll get, yes, or whatever. And that's when you put your hand in your hat or in a bag or in a box or something, and you pull out whatever it is. If it is a yes, then you may want to decipher the messages before we ask it. We want to make sure that it's coming from the right source, so that it's something that we can absolutely trust. Once you get that, then you have your answers. They say, yes, it is architecture. Well, your messages are not done. You now have 35 questions about that particular realm. Which part of architecture? Is it going to be buildings, bridges? Now that you've got the main part of your messages, you kind of want to bring it down so you have an idea where you're going to be filling in the gap on this earth for you to do. Again, you're not making it so they're telling you what to do. All of those things you love doing, but you want to make sure that the path you're about to embark on is going to be of the highest benefit for you, that you're going to learn the most, that you're going to have the most fun, but you're actually consulting a higher realm. That's where you're going to save a lot of time, because there's nothing more frustrating than being into the second year of architecture only to find out that I hate bridges or I hate really building. I would rather build it myself. Well, you kind of knew that in the beginning, but you're so anxious to make a decision that you just thought this was the right one, and that's okay. You're not going to be faulted for it. Another one here that is a good one, it's called under temperature. Some people that have been doing this a while and they've been meditating and they're starting to feel more, temperature of your body starts to change. You might feel chilled when you ask a certain question. You might feel overheated when you ask a certain question. What you need to do is do like we call with the heads or tails. And what do I mean by that? You got to assign, if something is cold, if it's making my body cold, is that a yes or is that a no? Like if I say, okay, whose turn is it to buy the next round if you're in a bar? Whose turn is it? So you flip the coin, it lands on heads. Well, that's great, but you didn't assign which is which. You would say something like, if it's heads, I will pay. If it's tails, you pay. See, it's very clear as to what happens. But most people, they don't assign anything. They just ask the question, they flip the coin in this example. It comes to heads, yay, it's heads. Oh, wait a second, what does that mean? Okay? And so I'm doing this on purpose to be humorous, because when we equate that to somebody that's getting messages, when they say, I was asking if whether or not architecture would be the thing, and my body got cold. I says, okay, what does that mean? I don't know. What does it mean? Well, it's not me to decide. If your body got cold, then the energies around you are making your body chilled. But what does chilled body mean to you? Well, usually when it gets cold, I really don't like it. And it's usually no, I usually will put a sweater on or something. Let's say that's the answer. Okay, then for you, a chilled body means cold, but then ask that same energy, is a heated body, does that mean it's positive or it's a yes? You have to establish that right at the beginning. Again, we're deciphering the messages long before they come. That way, when you ask the question, it's very clear when you get it what happens. There are some people that when they ask a question, their left ear burns like crazy because they've assigned it. They'll tell Spirit, okay, from now on, if I'm in a meeting and I don't have time to sort of meditate, close my eyes, sometimes I don't have time for that, but I want to still get that message fairly quickly. If I ask a question in my head, what I want you to do is, my left ear usually has the tendency to burn. Can you overheat that so it almost turns red? And if I twitch on my left eye, that means no. Again, you're assigning it. You could play it the way you want. But this way, while you're in the meeting, this is one way that you can get answers very, very quickly, because they could change the human anatomy very quickly. But it's sometimes getting messages to you and going through the third eye and all of the chakras, it takes a little more time and a little more work to do it that way. But your human anatomy is very instant. It's just like turning on a stove or turning up the fridge. It's a little more instant.
This is the end of Part 3, Deciphering Messages, Heads or Tails. Hope you check out our next episode called Pure Light.